So good morning. This session is Sustainability for Our Generation and NextGen at the University of Connecticut. Just as a point of interest, how many people are students and how many are professionals in sustainability? Okay, great. So what this presentation will be, I'm Stanley Nolan. I'm Director of Utilities, Operations, and Energy Management for the University of Connecticut. With me is David McIntosh. He's the Eversource Energy Efficiency Senior Engineer, and Andrew Brydges of the Connecticut Green Bank, Director of Institutional Programs. University of Connecticut is committed to leadership in campus sustainability for our generation and the next generations. Through an ongoing series of initiatives, UConn seeks out the best opportunities to conserve energy, reduce waste streams, decrease our carbon footprint, increase awareness of sustainable practices for energy, water, building design, and all aspects of sustainability. In 2014, UConn has been engaged for many years in sustainability. In 2014, we completed implementation of some retrocommissioning and relamping of about 115 buildings to reduce our energy profile, and we'll go into some details about that shortly. UConn has also signed a strategic partnership agreement with Eversource and basically made a pledge for the next 3 years to reduce our energy consumption across the campuses of the university, not only at the Storrs main campus, but also our regional campuses. We're also conducting an Investment Grade Energy Audit for energy service performance contracting underneath the Lead by Example program for the state of Connecticut. We're seeking to maintain net zero emissions and carbon footprint growth while expanding the university with our science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or STEM program of expansion called NextGen, which is a $1.5 billion investment by the state of Connecticut in the university systems. So essentially a little bit about UConn. We're basically Connecticut's 170th town. We have 8.5 million square feet of heated and cooled space. We have our own generation plant. We serve all utilities, including wastewater, stormwater, reclaimed water, and we have over 18,000 tons of cooling through our chilled water systems. Currently, the population is about 40,000 people, 8,000 households of a typical Connecticut family, and we're expanding as part of NextGen. UConn's committed. We've signed the President's Climate Action agreement for all the university presidents. That's been in place for since 2007 when President Hogan was in charge of the university, and it's been renewed by President Herbst. We have energy work groups on campus that look for projects that we can do. That includes student involvement through the Eco-Husky group, and we do look for renewable energy usages as well as conservation through our supply and infrastructure. Our generation projects on our side, from 1999 to 2010, a long history of, basically my generation of doing this type of work. We have done over 131 projects affecting 2.8 million square feet of the campus with a simple payback where we're going for the low-hanging fruit of about 1.5 years. This included lighting, maintenance changes, energy opportunity programs when we had the opportunity. From 2010 to 2014, our annual average savings was about $500,000 a year from our energy bill, which we tend to roll back our savings into a renewable funding account on campus so that we can do our next series of projects. And our average incentive has been received as about $1 million a year, simple payback 2.6 years. One of the key things is that return simple payback is getting longer as we're doing deeper projects into the buildings. We're not simply going after a lighting change, we're going after HVAC changes, building retrocommissioning, and now infrastructure is our next goal. So a little bit of success with that. In 2013, we were the #1 cool school rated by the Sierra Club. Number 9, that dropped a little bit, and part of that was our growth of adding our new Oak and Laurel Halls, which are large social science buildings on campus, and a couple of other facilities. So while we were reaching out, we were looking for LEED Silver as part of the program and stuff. That was a great goal, but it wasn't quite as good as we should have been. We wanted to now go for LEED Gold or Gold Plus, and we may follow the likes of other schools which supplanted us in 2014 when we dropped down. Other schools such as Duke, which had gone above and beyond the LEED programs with their own programs, is probably a good goal for us. And that's what we're going to try to do going forward, is to capture every energy credit as well as go above what the LEED version 4 requirements are. So our NextGen program, looking ahead at 2015 to 2035, we need to meet the STEM needs of the state to bring more students out that have a background in science, technology, engineering. And we're going to add 3.5 million square feet to the campus. So we want to flatten that curve. We want to be able to add square footage but not increase our carbon footprint. Pretty lofty and long-range goal. We want a 20% carbon reduction by 2010. To date, from 2008, when we initially set our goal using 2007 data, we've reached 17% reduction. A little bit of that's been offset by the new buildings coming online. What we want to do is get to the point where we're adding net zero buildings or similar concepts that help us reach that carbon neutrality by 2050. So some of our ideas behind this are the ESPC program, Leading by Example, where we're going to be doing our first phase program. We've selected our partner and we're in the process of getting that contracted. We'll be starting our investment grade audit in very short order here. One of our goals is to have every light on our campus be LED. That's the newest technology that's out there. We want to be the UConn leader of the pack. We want to go beyond LEED Gold Plus. The net zero energy buildings will be a large component of that. Low impact development for water conservation and design, as well as taking care of our existing buildings. We want to reach out and retro-commission or do existing building O&M programs so that we're not forgetting about the existing capabilities of the campus. We don't want to just focus on new buildings. We also want to capture the historic and nature of the campus and be able to use those. And as part of that, it'll be smart buildings and smart grid development to make sure that our infrastructure is capable of supporting these efforts as we go forward. As part of that, we have a Memorandum of Understanding and a partnership with Eversource, and Dave's going to address the parts of that.
How many people here are familiar with the programs in Connecticut? As far as okay. So there's a funding resource that we draw on at Eversource, and it's 3 mils of a cent for every kilowatt that's been consumed in the state of Connecticut. And that goes into a fund, and then that's the energy efficiency fund. Those dollars are then moved back out into projects that are similar to what's been going on, retro-commissioning, LEDs, or other energy savings projects, new chillers that are upgraded chillers that are better than code. So that money that everybody is putting in the stack helps move all this energy efficiency forward. And that's the sustainability piece. So everybody here who's paying an electric bill has a little piece of that sustainability as you pay into the fund and you help move all these ideas and processes forward with your support. So thank you for your support. So that's where the money comes. It doesn't come from the utilities. Are there any questions on that? So there's also a gas fund some people aren't familiar with. So there are gas incentives, and the same monies are pulled together from the gas side of the house. So any questions on that? Okay. So that's to help with the sustainability piece. Stan had mentioned this, and it costs more to get deeper activity. So, and ESPC is also one of those things, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But sustainability doesn't start in one action. It starts in many actions rolling forward. And UConn has been involved pretty much since they turned the lights on in some level of sustainability. And we've been there to help them along the road for quite some time. So we're working in all of these regions to find the savings to get them to the goals, to make sure that they come out higher in the cool school number. And these are some of the components that we're working on. Continuous commissioning, the greener building initiatives, behavioral change is one I'll speak to in a second here, and then clean and renewable energy resources, which they have their own generation plant, 25 megawatts on site. It's really a mini town that's being supported with close to 40,000 students. And so I would say in the energy ladder, when we talk about where people are in understanding how much energy consumption and they've done all the hard work, UConn's at one of the higher rungs right now, and we're needing to move into some plant maintenance activities, but mostly in behavioral change, which is also teaching students of what's going on, what has the college done, and all that. There's a lot of activity around that. And that's that last 10 or 20% that's the hardest to get to really getting to that zero, because we're all trying to get to that, balanced action and not growing anymore, but bending the curve back in the other direction. So for 3 years, we're looking at a little bit of energy here. That's megawatts. An average home uses 700 kilowatts a month. So it's a really large number. And we'll move, we're on our way to get there, right? We're going to make it every year. Yep. Yeah, full 10%. And I think 3% is really pretty light for them, but I think they could do better. And hopefully they will. So, but the incentives are significant too, so we can help along getting to where we need to go. $2.1 million if they should meet those goals. And the fund would be happy, and we should all be happy that we're paying for that, for reducing the energy consumption at the sites.
As part of the program, working with the state, we've reached out to be part of the program. We're not going to be the first. Several other state facilities have enrolled in the program or are in the process of doing so. So what UConn did was follow the guidelines and stuff, and we created a project and a request for proposal to do these cost-effective energy audits. So our target for the first round of this is taking a look at about 1 million square feet of space that are controlled by our building automation systems, address up to about 3,000 linear feet of utility infrastructure for steam lines, condensate lines, chilled water lines, etc. We estimated that would be a project of about $10 million, which is similar to other state agencies' efforts. And we're hoping to be able to do that through 15-year bonds. So what we're looking at is not taking just low-hanging fruit, but longer-term projects that affect the infrastructure and addressing those going forward.
Okay, thanks. I know we're pushing for time and want to leave time for questions, and I'm mostly going to focus on a case study, which isn't UConn specific because they're just getting going into their study of this project, but going to talk about Connecticut Valley Hospital, which is the state mental health hospital in Middletown, which is a little further along. We've got Dan Robertson here from CVH and also Matt Cohen from DEEP, who we work with closely on the program. So the Green Bank, Dave described how the Energy Efficiency Fund is funded. We are also funded by a small surcharge on your utility bills, but our purpose is to attract private capital to the state to fund clean energy and renewable energy projects. And so we've been recently christened as the Green Bank. It's a successor organization to what used to be the Connecticut Clean Energy Fund, which has been around for about 15 years, supporting solar and renewable energy and so forth. So performance contracting in a nutshell, we've mentioned it a few times, what is it? The idea is to take your energy savings that come out of a project and use those as the finance payments for the project. And so you're cruising along, you're paying your utility dollars. We're going to save utility dollars, that column has been reduced, but use the savings, or the vast majority of the savings, to fund the loan. And that loan probably have a 15-year period. After that, you reap the savings. So there's not a lot of savings during the contract, but there's also no extra cost. So you think of this extra cost to taxpayers or to ratepayers, whatever it might be. We can do all this work without asking for one more dollar from the taxpayer, even though we'll reap the savings sometime down the road. What can you do? Lots of things. Upgrade to high efficiency systems, obviously reduce your energy volatility, your budget accuracy, all those good things. Address maintenance issues that have been put off for years, sometimes decades at some of these facilities. And the program is very straightforward. We've got pre-approved standardized contracts and a process. We've got pre-qualified vendors, some of which are in the room with us today. And between the Green Bank and the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, we provide a lot of support to handhold the projects through the process. We've got a bunch going. The first 3 projects include Connecticut Valley Hospital, the Department of Motor Vehicles, and 4 prisons as part of the Department of Correction system. Together, that's $83 million worth of work. So significant work. UConn is entering the program both at Storrs, looking at a project at their health center, and we've got a number of municipalities too. And recently, last Wednesday, the governor really announced and gave clearance for the funding of these projects. And so we're looking forward to welcoming more projects now that we've got a clear path to financing. Let me talk a little bit about how a project comes together, because I think it's an interesting story, and it's a story that's going to play out at UConn very soon, and hopefully at a lot of other campuses. So Connecticut Valley Hospital, it's about 1.5 million square feet of buildings, 50 plus buildings on a 200-acre campus. It was built started being built in the late 1800s. Variety of services, and about $5 million annually in energy-related costs. Now, one of the challenges was there's 1 electric meter and 1 gas meter at the facility. So understanding what happens to the energy once it comes off the street, off the wires, has been a big challenge, and we've done a significant metering project to put meters on every building and better understand exactly where the energy goes once it comes off the street. Big challenge here. Aging infrastructure. It's a very old campus. We've got outdated equipment, leaking, steam pipes, uninsulated pipes. Those pipes are about 270 degrees. You don't want to bump into them. Old windows, out-of-date air conditioners. This was dug up from the steam distribution system, which runs under campus, and Dan noticed that the ground was boiling outside the IT building one day in September. It wasn't supposed to be boiling. And, when you dig it up, it's old. That's all there is to it. It's not negligence. It's just old. It needs to be replaced. And at CVH, we're going to replace about 2.5 miles of steam pipe that's underground. You can't really see the Canadian geese there, but they had a very warm bath all winter long, sitting above these steam distribution lines, which run across campus, and it's a pretty easy way to find the leaks, is just follow the geese. Yeah. What does it mean to lose 11 million gallons a year from your steam system? It means you're filling a pool about this size with boiling water every day and dumping it into the ground. That's what it means. So part of the challenge here has been just understanding and communicating the opportunity and the need to do this work at the campuses. It's been put off for too long. And so not too many of us speak in kilowatt hours or MMBTU or even gallons per year, but understanding just visually what it means to be losing that much energy, I think puts it in perspective. So CVH was the first project in. They're working with a firm called Noresco, which is here in the room, that they selected through the standardized process, and they've gotten lots of support from the Energy Efficiency Fund, the utilities, DEEP, the Green Bank, and so forth through the process. What have we found? We're going to reduce their costs by 60%. Their utility costs. So much more than the 3% savings, 10% savings, as really a function of how old the campus is and how out of date some of the equipment is. So a cost reduction of 60%. Some of that comes from switching over the use of oil to natural gas, and it's not all energy that's being wasted, but it's significant dollars. So that's a first year energy cost savings of over $3 million. And even after paying off the loan, we're going to save the state almost $50 million over the next 25 years. Of course, it's an enormous job creator. Rather than sending in this money on our utility bills, we're going to be putting people to work in good trades to do the work in construction jobs and so forth, and that's a big win as well. And the company that's doing the work will guarantee the savings. So they've done very careful engineering studies, and they are going to stand behind these savings. And that covers the financing of all the improvements, the measurement and verification of the savings every year for 15 years, and the maintenance of the new equipment, because it'll have a robust maintenance aspect to it. So how does it look? We're currently, our energy costs have been growing. We're at about $5 million a year right now. We're going to reduce that and start paying about $2 million a year. And that'll probably grow over time as utility costs do. Significant amount of extra maintenance, some amount of measurement and verification, and a good portion of the rest of the savings would be used to pay off the loan for doing that. It's a $33 million project, and so that's the debt service, the mortgage payment, if you will, on $33 million. And this anticipates that it'll be funded over 15 or 20 years, not million years, hopefully, 15 or 20 years, which hasn't quite been worked out, but the state is going to be using bonds to pay for this project. I'll close with kind of talking about some of the measures we're actually going to do at the facility. The goal in performance contracting in any big comprehensive project is to leverage the projects that pay off very quickly to fund the projects that take a long time to pay off, and balance that to get some sort of acceptable payback period, which for the state per this program is 15 years. So we've identified 16 separate kind of major conservation measures: lighting, steam distribution system, windows, things like that, in 54 buildings total and $33 million again. But visually, how it comes together is like this. We've got a combination of long payback measures. So here's our seesaw, and the fulcrum there is at 15 years, which we have to meet as our aggregate payback. Some things weigh down the project, and the size of the little ball is the scale relative to the cost of that measure. So a small PV system, payback's about 20 years, but it's not a huge measure cost-wise. Upgrades to their pool, energy-efficient chillers, windows, 40-year payback on an energy basis, lots of windows, lots of work to do, and they're very expensive. That's a significant drain on the project, if you will. And air handling units, again, close to a 50-year payback, but not a massive portion of the total cost. So we need a bunch of good stuff to the left side of the fulcrum to balance those things. And if you think about it very much as a seesaw, if this big ball here was right at about 16 years, it's sort of like the skinny kid going on a seesaw against the fat kid. If you sit way out on the end, even if you're skinny, you can balance the kid who's close to the middle, who weighs a lot more than you do. So this is really a very heavy drain on this, and we're going to need a lot of measures here to balance it, and this is exactly the game that we're doing. So short payback measures include, we've did a recent boiler project. It's already been paid for, but we're going to recognize the savings because they'll have a 30-year lifetime. We'll recognize the savings for the project. Switching fuels, plug load controls, upgrades to the energy management system, upgrades to the lighting, replacing the steam traps, pipe and mechanical equipment insulation. The cogeneration project is a great big project. It's going to be an important one. Insulation, weatherization, steam system upgrades. That's the 2.5 miles of pipe we talked about. And energy efficient transformers. So if you put all those things together against those red balls, we've actually got a project payback with all this work, $33 million of just about 10.8 million, or 10.8 years, not million years, hopefully. 10.8 years, about 11-year payback. So well within the state norm and or the required 15-year payback, well within that. So we're really excited about this, excited to bring these same kind of results to UConn and many of the other campuses we're working on. And that was it. I think all three of us are happy to take your questions.